Hello, everyone. I'm City of Las Vegas Mayor Carolyn Goodman. Thank you for joining us for what will be my final Hello Mayor show. After 13 years as your mayor and 25 years with a unique view from the mayor's office with my beloved sweetheart Oscar at the helm, I've observed and learned so very much. There's so many lessons and observations I'd love to share with you. So I've asked my dear friend and KCLV producer Nancy Byrne to co-host with me. So here we are.
Here we are. And before we started, the mayor, in her clever repartee said, we should call this Goodbye, Mayor. And then we all started crying. So we're not going to do that. But thank you, Mayor. It is such an honor to be here with you as an era comes to a close. There have been so many changes in this city, thanks to you and your husband. We have much to cover, from the city's commitment to early childhood education to a major revitalization of downtown. So what do you say? We jump right in and start with a topic I know everyone is always interested in, and that is you. Is that okay?
Well, I'm not as interested in me as perhaps somebody might be, and it's because I live with the biggest ego in our home. So go ahead, Nancy. What else?
Well, let's talk about that big ego that you married and moved here to this beautiful city. Well, it wasn't quite as beautiful. About 60 years ago. Tell us about that trip across the country.
Oh, my goodness. You know, my husband was absolutely not popular in my parents' household, and they said, don't marry this man, it will never last. And after that, not only did it last, of course, these 60 years, but he brought me all the way west to Las Vegas, where there were less than 100,000 people at the time. And boy, what a shock to come from the heart of New York City to this barren wasteland where all you could see was rolling sagebrush when we came into town.
And you had a car and a little bit of money.
$87.
And you must have been looking out there in culture shock.
All you could see were little buildings far away, which happened to be Fremont Street, and a few little scattered buildings down the left. And that was the Strip. Never did I dream it would explode like it has.
Well, and you're partially to thank for that, so we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, I get a lot of questions from people because whenever they watch the State of the City, they see your beautiful family, and you don't talk about it a whole lot, but your 4 children are adopted.
Yes, we were so fortunate to make Las Vegas our home because it's given us such a full life. While we had a wonderful time thinking we were going to have children, didn't work out that way. And luckily for us, Catholic Charities of Southern Nevada has an adoption service. And again, fortunately for us, 4 beautiful children, each separately over a period of 42 months, we adopted brand new at 3 days of age. And they have been raised here, they've been in public school, the boys all the way through public school, our daughter halfway through public school, had a wonderful education, and they've all got postgraduate degrees, and they all live here. So fortunately, Oscar and I have 6 grandchildren, and I can't believe all these years have passed, but what a blessing it was that we came to this wonderful community.
Well, and you raised them so well. They're all, as you say, highly educated, very kind. They're wonderful. I call them kids. Of course, everyone's a kid to me these days. But so you have, let's go in order. You have Oscar Jr. and you have Ross, Eric?
And Eric and Kara. And the top one is a physician and oncologist.
Yes.
And the next 2 are attorneys, one of whom is a judge. And then our daughter did her undergraduate and graduate work at Stanford and went on into family therapy. So I beat them a lot, tore off every fingernail, but I made them do their homework, and they are the best of children.
I somehow don't think that that's true. In fact, I know, because we've talked about this quite a bit, you consulted with the whole family when it came time for you to run for mayor. Why did you want all of them in on that decision?
Well, it had started with Oscar because he was voted down. You have more baggage than the sky caps at the airport. You can't run after 35 years in criminal law. But then it came time that Oscar announced he couldn't move the legislature to give him another term. And when that happened, everybody looked at him and said, now what? And he said, well, I think maybe your mom should run. And I had never given it a thought. But the children all were very enthusiastic about it. And of course, I made a deal that if I won, I would get a poker chip as my business card like his. His were $100, mine were thousands.
Well,
But-
that's fitting. I
Yes,
think that's fitting.
it was.
And to boot, you got a year longer than he did.
Yes, we're very competitive, but in a quiet little way. So when the legislature, in order to get everybody on the November cycle, changed my tenure to a 13th year, I just go, yes, go girls. So it was wonderful, and it has been, and I can't believe it's been 25, a quarter of a century, 25 years, and it's been very comfortable. And we've had the children all asked would they run, and they each have their own lives, and unfortunately it doesn't pay what they can earn in the private sector, and they have mortgages and they have bills to pay. So it's moving forward.
All right. Well, so we'll find out very soon who will be taking over that beautiful office on the 7th floor in your absence. Now, when we moved out of the old City Hall, Mayor Oscar had a lot to do with this City Hall being built.
Correct.
Did he make you bring all that furniture that was up in his office in the old City Hall?
I said no. I mean, I had 6 months there, and it was interesting because when he became mayor, as you may recall, the city was in a great depression. The crime downtown was awful. People were just moving out anywhere to get away from it. And economically, we were a disaster. And so Oscar really was a visionary about redevelopment and economic development. And how do you bring culture and medicine and education and do all the things that a quality world-class city has. And so what he established were plans for having that wonderfully vibrant city. And of course, he planned everything, but I got to open it all. And my first 6 months was in the old City Hall, which, as you know, Zappos took over. And when you sat in the mayor's office, you could look at the beautiful mountains to the north, but you saw nothing of development in the city. But then this great building was taking shape, and the mayor's office happens to look over Symphony Park as well as the downtown and out onto the Strip. So when people come in here from all over the world, they really have a view of magnificence. They have the Gary Cleveland Clinic, Lou Ruvo Institute. They have a beautiful Smith Center of Performing Arts. They have the World Market Center, which is in its own architectural design fabulous.
And I remember when Mayor Oscar first took office, and he said he looked on the streets and he said, wow, I didn't realize it was kind of dilapidated. He didn't realize it was so boarded up, and he called it the core of the apple. If the core of the apple is rotten, then the rest it spreads. So let's talk a little bit more about Symphony Park, because there's so much over there, and that's kind of where it started. It was a brown field, right, when you guys
It was the
decided
Union Pacific brownfield. And if you've been to Denver or anywhere where all the railroads have the polluted land that has come from all the seepage of different types of fuels and things, Oscar, when he became mayor after 35 years in the criminal law practice, we had a good friend who happened to be the head of Howard Hughes at the time, Dan Van Epp. And Oscar said, you know, I know where City Hall is, but I don't know anything about running a government. I've been doing this other career for so long. And he said, let me send you back to the Rouse Company, and they will give you a speed-up course on what you need to be thinking about as you become mayor. So we both went back together. It was fascinating. And the first thing they said was, as you're trying to revitalize a crime-ridden prostitution, everything boarded up community, you need land, you need fresh land. And Oscar remembered we were landlocked, and except going way west, but the entire government center was and remains down here in the heart of the city. The courts are here, everything, business, small business. And he looked around, and then he said, oh my goodness, we have the brownfield. And fast forward, that is what's become Symphony Park, the heart of culture for our entire southern Nevada area. And yet it too has become a great medical center because we do have that Cleveland Clinic, Lou Ruvo Institute for Brain Health, and it's becoming a place to live. Of course, we have the old, very individualistically designed and residential areas of Rancho, Circle, Scotch, 80s, different areas, and the heart of the old downtown on 6th and 7th Street. And so it became a cause célèbre, and he went ahead working with the Union Pacific, the attorneys, to get that land for development. And of course now we have, we have Oric, and we have Park Haven, right? And now we're building more. We've got Southern Lands putting up that 20-story high-rise, and we have Origin Cello that's going up, a whole community of residential living, plus the Marriott AC, which is going to be a high-end. That's almost at the point of enclosing the outsides. And we have the most wonderful community center there in culture of the Smith Center for Performing Arts.
And it has, well, that's the envy of the country, envy of the world sometimes.
Right.
I know
It's
people come from all over the world and they're just floored that that's in the heart of Las Vegas. Because they think of Las Vegas as the Strip and showrooms. They don't think of something that rivals Carnegie Hall.
And two, mustn't forget the museums.
Yes.
We have a brand new art museum that's under creation right now, which is going to be phenomenal. But we have the Children's Museum, we have the Neon Museum, the Natural History Museum, the Law Enforcement Mob Museum.
And it's hard to believe that the Lou Ruvo Center for Brain Health just celebrated 15 years since they opened their doors. And the work that they do is amazing. In a way, because I'm not in the thick of it like you are, developing and attracting and bringing the School of Medicine here. Did that sort of kickstart the medical district? I know we already had the area near Symphony Park that had some great hospitals and that kind of thing. But do you feel like
it
that
has the only public hospital, the UMC, that's run by the county, and that has grown so beautifully into expanding into residencies in other parts of
Trauma
healthcare.
center, which we need.
Oh, the trauma center is known around the country. The burn unit is there, but the trauma, the level 1, it is the only level 1 trauma center in the state. So we are bringing in patients from everywhere, and of course during the tragedy of 1 October, that was the center, along with Valley, which happens to be a private hospital for the patients and survivors of that tragic day. But what's happened is, and that was one of the things that Oscar was shown in the beginning, you need to be safe first, because nobody's going to invest, or bring in anything if your community isn't safe. So that's a given. But then it was right after that, when you look at your own self or your own family, what's important beyond your safety is your health, your good health for your family, and your businesses and your employees. And then, of course, it goes down the list to other things that are critically important, certainly the cultural aspect, the educational offerings, sports and entertainment. I mean, there's so many pieces as you go down, transportation, ease to get around. And of course now we have the growing around the country, in fact around the world, the homeless population, and an aging society, because we've been taken so well care of health-wise that we have people now caught in this housing crisis. When you look at people on fixed incomes or on Social Security, and we have the water issues that we have and the cost of energy, and where did they get this money?
I'm exhausted.
There are a lot of things going on.
There are, but as you had said, if people don't feel safe, and if they don't feel like they can be healthy, and if their kids can't get educated, that's why it's important, even for people who are voting or throwing their support behind someone, you may not have children, but we're not going to be able to attract good businesses and good business people if we don't have good
because
education.
they're for everything,
Right.
because they have employees.
Yes.
But one of the things I did want to mention, we have a wonderful sheriff, Kevin McMahill, and our head of Department of Public Services here, Jason Potts, who's our chief. They've been working so well together and comprehensively around the community and North Las Vegas, all the communities. But we have a wonderful substation down here, which is a private and LVMPD and city operated center that's made such a difference in the heart of downtown, which, as I mentioned, is our federal government's down here representation, state, county, city, the Supreme Court, all the courts are in the heart of the city. So it's only reasonable that that remains the core, as you mentioned. The rotting core can't be there. Plus, we have 18B and the rest of the cultural area, which is really getting explosive in the excitement, because you can walk quickly from one restaurant to another, and a tavern and an auction house, or beautiful little homemade jewelry and thing.
That's
and of
when
course,
you feel
Fremont Street.
and that's when you feel like you're in a real city, because you can get out of your car and walk.
It's so exciting. So when you see the number of restaurants and you see all the little twinkly lights to show you where everything's happening. And First Friday, there's so many events. And of course, we have gotten so many federal grants to improve and make better lighting in our downtown area. To say nothing of the hotels, we have a brand new, huge, wonderful hotel in Circa, but maintaining the oldest, the El Cortez and the Plaza, the hotels and the Boyd Group that have really, this is the remainder of the privately owned hotels. The hotels out on the Strip, maybe there are a couple. I think of the Sahara, but I look at our Strat that Blake Sartini and Golden Gaming has. These are all privately owned hotels that are highly competitive, want to give you a deal, and
can, because they don't have to answer to corporate. I mean, nothing against the big properties, but when you have a hotel like Circa, they don't have to answer to corporate leaders.
No.
Pretty much, they can just say, you know what, Derek, let's do this, right?
Yes, and he's got some good things coming right now, and I know Life is Beautiful is about to come into town at the Plaza right here. So, I mean, there's just so much excitement, but it's a family feel, and people are really coming into town just to come into the heart of the downtown, where you just can talk to people again and be with them. And then, I heard there's a good place around the corner for Chinese food or something, and let's go try that out. So it's wonderful.
You know what else is wonderful is before you actually walk out of office, you're going to see at least a big part of Civic Plaza come to life, and that was kind of a dream of yours too.
Well, I have to, because City Hall's been so great, and we have employees. We've got about 3,800 employees. They're scattered everywhere, and the reality is everybody wants to be together so that we're able to organize. And I do remember Bob Coffin looking across the street and saying, "Why isn't there a plaza there? Why aren't there more offices?" And lo and behold, here we are.
Yeah.
That will be ready to open. I was hopefully going to be ready by December, so I could at least step inside as mayor. But I think we're looking at the spring because of inflation and because of the delay in so much of our supplies that needed to be in the building. But it's going to be fabulous. There's a public area with a beautiful park planned, and of course we have the new Muni Court right adjacent to it. So much has happened in these past 25 years. I do have to pinch myself because I can't believe the difference of what it was like, as you said, when you came here 27 years ago. You wouldn't walk in that area, and now to have the Fremont East Entertainment District, there are apartments being built there, the motels are being refurbished. There's such excitement, and I have to take my hat off a lot to Tony Shea, God rest his soul, that he really came in with a unique building happiness, and he really was an inspiration of you know, maybe not quite the same routine way, let's do this, let's build this city. And it was so compatible with everything Oscar and his councils were working on to make this a place where people wanted to come and feel, wow, I'm just not another number. I am somebody, and they remember me, and they know you're Nancy when you come back, and they know what you like to eat, and it's become a real family place.
Yes. I did want to ask, reaching outside of the city of Las Vegas, making it a little easier to get to and from Las Vegas, and that would be another one of your pet projects or your pet peeves maybe, because you do travel back and forth from here to California. Widening of I-15.
It was very important as you travel around the country into different communities, you get ideas. You have to be open-minded and listen to, our own people have great suggestions. But it seemed to me while we were rebuilding this community, we had tried before to have a bus service circulating here. And when I heard from the RTC, the Regional Transportation Commission, that they on an average drop 1,800 bus riders at the outdoor premium outlets, to say nothing of Uber, Lyft, private cars, other people who come by cab. I thought, you know something, they go to the premium outlets as just one of the sources, but we have all these hotels, we have all these activities. Wouldn't it be nice, because back in New York City, it was the advertisements inside public transportation that would pay for the ridership of where you wanted to go. So I suggested it to the city manager, who then took it to the RTC, which I also pressed. And we have this free loop on a regular basis. People live, work, and play downtown. They live in one of the Jewel, Newport Lofts, any of the downtown places, and rely on this free loop to get them around town, to get them to the Golden Nugget, to get them to the Cal, to get them to El Cortez, any of the hotels or businesses. And it's fabulous, and it's free. And so the more we're doing and the more you travel and the more you learn. I remember going with the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority to London during Oscar's term, and they had rideshare. Rideshare, you're asking, what's rideshare? It's a bike. And you have a credit card, and they're docked everywhere. So at that point, I called the head of the RTC when I got back, and I said, they have this rideshare. Well, rideshare is now all over Las Vegas, and especially in the heart, where you can just jump on a bike. So now I'm totally into transportation, and do we get phone calls at City Hall all the time?
I know that has been one of your major projects that you would like to see happen. And you do travel back and forth yourself.
Yes.
And we all do. And
Yes.
not too long ago, Diana Paul, one of our deputy director, was stuck in that 9-hour, pilot, because there was an accident and no one could get anywhere. What's the status? What do you? Is this something that is just not going to happen in our lifetime?
Well,
I know.
You know, it's interesting because there's so much traffic going back and forth, but also into the belly of the country. All the produce that's coming out of California.
Yes.
Everything was stockpiled in the harbors in Long Beach, San Diego, LA. I'm not talking about the north. That was coming in from the Far East, whether it's furniture or it's clothing. And because it was stockpiled in California, they have rail, and of course there's air. But those are very complicated and costly pieces. We in Nevada, from state line going through the state, have widened our roads. But on the I-15, which feeds into the east, feeds into, I think it's the 10, the 30, and the 70, which take it to other parts of the country. It was reasonable to think that from Barstow to State Line, Nevada. It's 2 lanes in each direction only, no shoulder to get off of. And when you talk about 9 hours, 44 hours with that hazmat battery accident just a month ago.
Yeah.
And you think it's 110-degree heat. And what about the elderly person in the car and children and no restrooms? You can sit on a 3.5-hour ride to LA. It can take you 9, 10 hours.
Right.
It's ridiculous. And it's not safe because there's no shoulder to get off.
Yeah. And it's not just for our economy, and that's not selfish, because without our economy feeds families and children and schools and everything else that we need here, infrastructure. But it also stops food from coming in here. And Lord knows we need that with all of our buffets and wonderful restaurants here. So it's a project that, well, we'll just have to wait and see, I think. But we're going to take a quick break, and we still have so much to talk about with our lovely Mayor Carolyn Goodman. And I'm not going to call this Goodbye, Mayor. I just
It's a swan song of sorts.
Okay, it's a swan song. Anyway, we're going to talk about, a lot of people think that the city has a lot to do with Clark County School District, and we don't. It's a whole separate entity. However, that doesn't stop this young lady from jumping in and helping out our students, especially our little ones. So we're going to talk more about that and much more when we come back.
Remember this date, August 1st. That's when dogs and cats must be microchipped under a new city ordinance. Myth versus fact. Microchips hurt pets. Myth. It's like getting a vaccine, no anesthesia needed. Microchips are GPS trackers. Myth. A unique number connects to a database when scanned. Owner info is protected. Microchips must be registered. Fact. Keep your contact info current with the microchipping company, or the chip is virtually useless. Microchips save pets' lives. Fact. They get pets home and keep shelters from overcrowding. Contact the Animal Foundation, Heaven Can Wait, or Hearts Alive for more information.
Welcome back, everyone. We are doing what I guess we're calling the final Hello Mayor show, as our lovely Mayor Carolyn Goodman prepares to leave after 13 years as our mayor, and of course your husband was there before that, 25 years.
It's a long. I was young once. I can't believe how old I am.
Oh, you're not. No, you're not. No one. Everyone looks at you and says you're ageless. I know, 25 years. But we've covered a lot of stuff. But we're going to move into a topic that's near and dear to your heart. Well, several. But let's talk a little bit about homelessness. It is an issue that I don't care what city you're in, you're facing it. And we faced it head on in so many ways, with ways that are working.
Well, and it was interesting because I do remember as the homeless population was continuing to gravitate to the downtown where they could ask for things and money and help. Oscar, as mayor, would open up City Hall, the old City Hall, and bring all the social services in and have an open time for the homeless to come in. And time after time, as much as we provided the services and were going to help, nobody came. And I said to him, I really believe, because I have a minor in drug and alcohol abuse at school, in college, I said, you know, I really think you're going about this wrong. A lot of the reason they're not coming in, I mean, there are a variety of reasons, is because of drug and alcohol dependency, and they don't want to be picked up and go to jail. So when I became mayor, the first thing I did was look at the spectrum of the homeless population, because every piece of that population, every segment, has a different mode of concentration to help. Fortunately, Arnold Stock, who has been the most wonderful advocate for helping our veterans with his share villages, has attended in such great success to housing and helping with social services for our homeless vets. Another piece, of course, are the seniors that are out who haven't been able to keep up with payments increases and find homes. There are those who are released from the hospitals who maybe need care still or have no place to go. We don't have that. Then, of course, we have those who have recently lost their jobs. We have teenagers from all over the country or all over the world that congregate here. This is all part of the spectrum. What is the most difficult piece in this spectrum of homeless are the chronic drug alcohol abuser and the criminal segment. When I was growing up, they had sanitariums where, I can't tell you they were well run or anything, and many of them were horrible to even hear about. But there needed to be, because we've already talked about, the most important thing to any human being should be safety. I need to be safe. So I went to our then city manager, who happened to be at that time, Betsy Fretwell, and said, we need to be looking at a place that has a low or no barrier where people, we can provide 24/7 safety so they can bring their belongings, what they have, or their pets, and fast forward, we have the courtyard. Now, of course, as that began, and we began to bring staff in, professional staff and volunteer, and other parts of it, and social services, we really needed to look around the country. The best thing in the world is, why reinvent the wheel? It's been done. So where are they doing things? Where is it successful? So many of our then council people, and more recently the newer council people, went down. San Antonio, Texas was one place. There are a whole different cadre of different places that have been doing different things. And so we opened up at first. We had no shade because we couldn't afford it. We could take a piece of land, and we bought mats, and of course the world didn't like that there weren't beds there. And we did the best we could on the money we didn't have. And what's grown now in the heart of downtown, we used to only be able to afford 3 porta potties. 3 for the hundreds of homeless. And we were cleaning them in the beginning 3 times a week. That was all we could afford. Not only did we triple, quadruple that number and bring showers, we then built a permanent facility, and we sanitize all the time, continuously. We now have a place for homeless to bring their pets.
Yes.
And thank heavens for places like Republic Services, who donated all of these recycle bins, and all we had to do was buy locks, so a homeless person who had some belongings could have their own private place. I can't tell you what a difference it's made. The only problem was, as we dealt with this, the criminal aspect and those who are really severely mentally ill. We have tried forever, and we will continue to try, to find a place for those who really can't care for themselves, to have a compassionate place where they have the medication, where they have good food, where they have medical help and exercise. The courtyard has been so significant, and we're continuing to have more and more homeless come here, but it shouldn't only be the city that provides. There should be in every quadrant a place for the homeless to be cared for, housing and social services.
And I think, Mayor, one of the great things about the courtyard is that city leaders took the time to find out, why aren't you coming to get help? Well, they found out people aren't going to leave their pets on the street. They found out that people who have a drinking problem, they don't want to be stopped coming in because maybe they had too much to drink that day to escape their sorrows or whatever. And the bins, they had belongings, but they didn't want to have to leave those on the street to come in. So I think what was amazing is that we actually listened to, why aren't you seeking the services, and then tried to accommodate all of those wants and needs. So that really
it was set
amazing.
up as a model.
Yes.
And what we said was, if you can't do it, start small, build a model, and then they'll replicate it. Now, of course, as you know, we have wonderful, wonderful social services. Right there by our courtyard is Catholic Charities Southern Nevada, where they serve a meal a day. The mission serves a meal a day. The Salvation Army has a meal a day.
And they all have job training too, because I've interviewed people who've become chefs while they were cooking for the other homeless people.
And we probably sent many homeless back to their families in other parts of the country, but the children for sure. I mean, we have youth and mothers with children, they just can't be able to take the meals and do it all. So it's really become a wonderful model, and our issues now are they need to have them in the different segments of the Southern Nevada, in every community where we help them get their Social Security checks. We certainly, the veterans, we've been really successful, get them medical care. And then we have a recuperative care center for those who've been released from the hospitals. And our faith leaders, God bless them.
Yes.
Our faith leaders have been so involved and telling their congregants that we don't want anybody feeding people on the street because you don't know what some sicko's going to put in the food. You don't want that. We have ways to make sure they have healthy health care, nutritional places for them to eat, and plus the trash and everything else that comes from that. But it's working, and it's getting bigger and better, and we're able to even get them their mail. I mean, it's amazing how they've lost their licenses and things.
Right. And the thing about not feeding people on the streets, that's been a big controversy, but the problem is that they'll try to save the food, maybe the food goes bad. It's more respectful for them to be able to walk into Catholic Charities or the Salvation Army and get a hot, healthy meal. So,
and you mentioned too the job training. That's our ultimate goal for those who are unable to care for themselves eventually or even immediately. That's what we're trying to do with social services. But the dignity that every person needs, it's part of who we are, is to care for yourself, not get a handout, not rely on something else, to do it, have a job, and enjoy it. And so we have job training.
And if you talk to most of the people on the street, seriously, they don't want to be out there. I mean, trust me. I mean, we've done so many stories. They want a job. They want to take care of their families, and so.
And we do have volunteers back that were homeless. Incredible people that have given up the juice and the sauce and the bad things. And that's the hardest when you are addicted, to give it up, and because your body depends on it.
It's
but they can do it, and we know it, and we see it all the time.
Well, let's move into the Mayor's Faith Initiative, because this has been an amazing gathering. Started in 2012, I believe. Yes. So it's over 10 years old.
Yes.
How many? It's like 150 faith leaders.
Yes.
And tell us the concept.
Well, again, we're very proud of who we are in this community. People come and visit and enjoy entertainment and do everything here. But each one of us who's chosen to live here or who was born here has a pride in this unusual community. And we're a giving group. And so the most important thing is when you get up in the morning and you look in your beautiful face and you say, you know, I feel good today. I did something for somebody, or I achieved this thing. Everybody that's here in this community, and we are a mix of nationalities, cultures, races, religions. We are this very mixed group of people with one thing in common. We're a family, and we all take pride in the ownership of this. And our faith leaders, and some people have no faith, that's okay, it's your choice, but for the faith leaders are so imbued with an energy to reach out to congregants of their own faith or others, and have them become part of the whole community. So we began this Mayor's Faith Initiative that meets with regularity. And at times when this entire country has been embroiled in riots, who did the sheriff call upon? Who have we called upon? Who do we reach out to? And who reaches out to us? Our faith leaders. They have become so much a part of the very heartbeat here. But they're so involved with making sure their congregants are healthy and fed and counseled.
And they established certain social issues that they would attack, such as addiction, as you mentioned, and education and homelessness, human trafficking. You know, they looked at, here's some of the things we need to work on, and instead of each church or each congregation working on their own, it's a group effort. It's beautiful to watch.
Well, and again, when you look back at that spectrum of homeless, one piece of that are runaways. And I, even though I had the best parents in the world who loved me and guided me and did everything they were supposed to, I got to the ripe old age of 13 and 14 and I thought, my parents aren't so smart, they don't understand this, they don't. And
You
I
knew
could
more.
think it happens to
Yeah.
most girls, more so I think than boys, but boys too, that are fed up or have something bad and they figure, where can I go that nobody's going to know me and bother me? I don't think I'll go to New York City. How about Vegas? Yeah. So they come here figuring they can get a job at McDonald's, but not without proof of their education or whatever they need. And they come out here and then they find, I can't make it. Yeah. I have no place to live. And the next thing, they're being human trafficked. And we have, because of the social services and the faith initiative and what we do here at City Hall, we are just so open to embracing these children and getting them back into a healthy environment. And so it really, and it is working with the courts, it's a total involvement. And what's wonderful about it is when you see a child reunited into a happy circumstance. And whether it's a match like adopting a puppy or something, to get a foster care and get the child willing to share what's gone on, why have they run away? Was it their doing? Because that's part of growth and development.
Or were they running away from a situation that was even worse, you know? So, and this human trafficking can happen right underneath even the most observant parents' noses, because these human traffickers are very sophisticated. They're very sophisticated.
And this
and
little piece of equipment, this is the best tool for information quickly, but it is a killer. It is a killer in the classroom. It's a killer for these poor kids that are caught up in this human trafficking. A nice young looking girl and it is much trafficking young guys to get them involved. So to me, it's there's so much going on, isn't it? Unbelievable.
I know.
There's so much to do still.
Southern Nevada CEO Exchange. I know that this is something important to you, so I wanted to give some time to be able to talk about that.
Well, I'm out there running to be mayor, and of course you need money, so of course I'm talking to everybody I possibly could. I go to the Catholic Church, I go to the LDS group, I go to everybody, and I happen, because I happen to be Jewish, go to the Jewish Federation to get money, and they said, well, that's not what we do here. We're not giving and supporting candidates. I said, well, tell me something. What are some of the issues that you're having trouble with? And one of them happened to be food preparation for seniors caught at home with no ability to get groceries. And I said, well, 3 Square. I just came into my tenure, or I'm coming into my tenure, and there's a 3 Square that's been started quite some time ago, and they have started this food service. And do you know, a Catholic Charities that does food, it costs them, and don't quote these numbers, but it costs them $3.60 per meal to even get it delivered to a senior. And what are you paying here at Jewish Federation? We pay $14.75. So I thought, you know what we need to do? We need to get all the social services together, the executives, not somebody that's lower down, because you need to make a decision and say, yes, we'll do it. So we started the Southern Nevada CEO Exchange, which happened to have 12 of the top social services in town, the top executives. I said, you want to join it, you have to come. And they came, and I can't tell you. Federation began to buy its food in conjunction with Catholic Charities, and then we had Salvation Army, we had the mission. Everything began to be shared and benefit everybody.
Good move on your part. I'm rushing through things now because I know we're running out of time, and I promised before the break we would talk about some education that I know you're very, very proud of. Strong Start charter schools. So let's see if we can zip through that a little bit, Mayor.
Well, as you mentioned at the onset, our city, our state, the responsibility in Southern Nevada for the schools, it's Clark County School District, which is under the umbrella actually of the county. The municipalities have no control of the K-12 programs. And so, having been involved in education in my prior 26 years before becoming mayor, I knew the formula of what needed to be, at least I thought I did, and tried to create a model to be emulated. But for our part, we knew we already had before and after school programs called Safe Key. And I remember the days with Lisa Hibbler and Ted Olivas going to talk with the superintendent. Can we go ahead and do these things in Safe Key beyond the tutoring? Can we offer dance? Can we offer art? And then it became very evident, wait a minute. I remember when President Clinton had his second inauguration, and he said, in my presidency, every child's going to be reading by 4th grade. And I thought to myself, whoa, what happened from birth to getting to 4th grade? Children need to learn to read in kindergarten. So I asked the then superintendent and spoke with Dr. Hibbler, and I said, let's go out and we're going to open preschools. We now have 4 preschools. They're wonderful programs where the children are learning to get ready to read, and it became so important in the more challenged areas where there's low income that they couldn't get a bus. They couldn't take 2 and 3 and 4 children. They just didn't have the wherewithal to do it. So I said, fine, we'll develop school bus, those, what do you call them, RVs, convert them into schools and go into the neighborhoods.
Right.
And so with the help of the private sector, we now have 3. We're working on our 4th Strong Start Go program, going into the east side, going into the west side, and full, getting 2 and 3 and 4 and young 5s ready to be in kindergarten to read.
Right, and they go to the neighborhoods where the kids don't have the means to get to the Strong Start schools, and
we have a charter school.
And by the way, we have a charter school. Yes, we do.
And while I'm not in favor of charter schools because the mass is broken, fix what's broken, don't put Band-Aids on. We did have the opportunity from Tony Shea's estate to take over the 9th and Bridger School, and we have a starting at kindergarten and plan to 5th grade. Our scores are phenomenal. It's a bilingual school, the only one in the state. English, everything, reading, writing, everything's in both languages.
And it's a beautiful school.
Kids.
It's a beautiful school.
Thank you, Tony Shea and family.
That was really beautiful. So congratulations on that. You and I have something in common that we're going to touch on, and I'm going to try not to cry, but I want to publicly tell everyone, you have gotten me through, and I'm sure many, many other people through a health issue, because you're compassionate and you're loving, and like, I think it's like 2 million other people in this country every year are diagnosed with cancer. The mayor and I both share this. Mine was esophageal, which 10 years ago was not survivable. Yours was breast cancer, twice. And what I know how you helped me through it, but I've heard your story, and what helped you through it?
I think, amazingly, being mayor and being busy and getting my mind off of me, my. I remember when I was running for my 2nd term, and I have to tell you how the first breast cancer came about. You're always working. When you're working, it's a pencil, it's a computer, it's something. And so, very stupidly, because I had to have my phone with me, I put it inside my bra. And it was right at that spot. There was no cancer in my family history. I developed a cancer right there. So I learned that right off the bat. But then I had a 10-year little vacation.
Right.
And then, unfortunately, it came again on the other side. And it's having your mind occupied, knowing that you're going to have chemotherapy, and you're going to deal with it, and radiation. But I really believe it's the attitude that you have. And fortunately, we live in a day today where science has made such strides. Had we lived 30, 40, 50 years ago, I'm not sure both of us would have had the advantage. And good care, and the care here. My care was all Las Vegas. I did not go anywhere else. I didn't have to because we had the service. But we have so much more we have to be able to do here. We need to bring in the doctors and the oncologists and the residents here, because you don't want to have to go to Scripps or Cleveland, or as much as they're the best in the world, Mayo. We need those facilities here, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that our Medicaid reimbursement is so poor here, and the insurance companies really need to do a better job of helping us develop quality medicine here. Because if in fact you're a physician and you've had the service, the operation, if they have to live too, they're people. That they're going to get a better reimbursement rate in Arizona, in Utah, in Colorado, Idaho, you name it, California. They're not going to come here.
Exactly.
They won't.
Yeah.
And so now we have this wonderful medical school, but our legislature and our governor need, and we've been saying this for 13 years, please increase, not Medicare. Medicare is nationally set, no matter where you go. Medicaid is determined per state. And so God bless. I mean, I know how hard it was. You're so scared when you hear the first news. I know when you did, and I know what I felt. And it's frightening, and you don't want to scare your people in your family. And of course, we know that Kate Middleton has been through this, which has helped a lot of awareness. But you have to continue to work your best, and you have to be very sensitive, and that's the hardest thing, is the people you love around you. And so it's to keep busy, have a good attitude, follow the doctor's advice.
Yes, ma'am.
And do, and just know you can get through it, because they have something for everything now. And so it's trying, and it's scary, and for some of us who lost all of our hair, for others now they have different types of chemo and you don't. But I worked every day that I could. It was only on chemo days. I was always
And you had
there.
just announced that you were going to run again.
I did,
remember
and
that
I
all
looked
came out at once,
at you,
and I looked
Oscar.
at you, and I was like, I know, and Oscar and I were standing there, and I was like, what?
And I looked at you, and it was just, but I knew I could do it. You have to just keep yourself on focus. And
you were so open about it, and I learned that from you, that hearing your story and seeing how strong and just resilient you are. And of course, I know you had amazing support in your family and your husband, and I have an amazing husband who supported me.
Certainly
and
do.
I had you to text me and say, how are you doing? And I just, what I learned from you is to be open about it. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. We didn't do anything wrong to get cancer. But there are people out there that can hear our stories and know that it is survivable, and that we are making progress here.
What was your hardest part, do you think? If you put it in a time frame, a time warp. And to me, here I am out now from this second bout, I don't even know, 5 years or something. I just believe it's here. I still have the ability to pop up again. And so you don't worry, and you don't, because it gets nothing.
I think my hardest thing was feeling like I was inflicting all of this on my husband, who says I'm crazy to say that, because he's there to support me, and he's a wonderful man, and you know him, Jim. But I felt like I was a burden, and that was hard for me to get through. But now I've had my first clean scan.
I'm so thrilled.
And I just always I want people to learn from me what I learned from you, and that is, if you are going through a difficult challenge, whether it's cancer, horrible, breakup, whatever, loss of a child, turn to each other, and when someone says they want to help you, let them help you.
Without question. And another thing is, you can always write it down too. They've made it so easy with our computers to keep a log of what you've experienced so you can share it with others.
Well, thank
and I
you.
think it's just, you're a beautiful person. You've been such a good friend all these years, and I love you. And it just, I knew you had the strength. You just, and I'm not saying it's easy, because sometimes for some different types of cancer, there are different remedies, different chemo that you have to go through. And at one point, I know I developed sepsis. Because I had to have a port put in, which goes right into your main line, so they get it into your veins and everything. And coming out of that, that was a period that I know all my muscle tone was gone. And so there are different things, but you know you can do it. And
Well,
when
thank
you have loving friends and people, but sometimes writing it down, so you're helping somebody else.
Yes, journaling and sharing. Journaling and sharing. So
Yes.
that's what I learned from you. Thank you. You are a pillar of strength to all of us. I know during October 1, you were a comfort to so many people, and you know, I don't know what we're going to do without you, but that's just me.
We're going to look forward to youth and the future and excitement and everything. And we've missed all the sports, which my husband worked on from day one. But the reality is, look at where we've come. Oscar was on the phone from day one with the commissioner. Oh my goodness, I have the whole list of all of them. Bettman and National Hockey League. And he wasn't opposed to bringing a ice hockey team here, because we did have it to Santa Fe. We had little ice rinks and things, but look at where we've come, and certainly
we are a sports mecca.
And you know, when I worked at the Riviera in '64, one of the frequenters to the Riviera was Al Davis and his wife. And lo and behold, here we have dear Mark. And look at what they did last night, Oakland.
Right.
So we're just, it's exciting. NBA will be coming. Adam Silver's the best, and I know he knows, because he started a whole new tournament here last year, and just we're becoming world class in everything. And
all
now
right, Mayor Oscar, we slipped it in. We slipped it in because your wife made sure we slipped it in. So thank you. Yes, we're a sports mecca, and we've got nothing but good stuff out there on the horizon. So I'm just going to give you the floor, Mayor, and let you do your farewell.
You know, I think the most important thing is the beauty of this community. We've been so privileged and honored to live here these 60 years. I can't believe the time's gone by so quickly. And as I shared with you, we wouldn't have our beautiful family had we not chosen to live here. We wouldn't have had the rich experiences of meeting so many people, and then watching the common growth that we all cherish and want for our own families and friends. And the joy of working here and watching how everybody believes together that if we each do a little part, and we've seen it day in and day out for 25 years. It's a glorious place. We're proud of the people here. We're proud of everything. And it's all about communication. When you come down to the basis of everything, it's sharing, and it's loving and caring for people and believing in humanity. And I would close with one thing, because we're going into an election cycle. We're already in it. I find the hardest thing today, and it's a lot of it again too, is this piece of technology. What is the truth? What do you believe? How do you discern the truth? Who's telling you the truth? And I know, as we've raised our 4 children, and as much as people may not want to hear from me and my husband, and it's the one reason that he and I are still married after, well, not the one reason, but one of many. But the basic one is, what's truth? And we're fed so much, and there's so much mendacity. There's so much control trying to get a hold of your brain. You own your choices. I own my choices. We all own our choices, good or bad. But you've got to find the truth. Don't believe all this stuff. You turn on a TV, you hear from one person on something, and you turn around and you've got the exact opposite. What's the truth? And when you take a hold of an individual's mind and brainwash them to think it's better to be dependent on someone than to own yourself, You need to have the dignity and self-respect, and that's what's offered right here in this fabulous Las Vegas, in this great city in which we live. Our staff, our administrators, everybody that works here wants to make sure what the truth is, that we're giving it to you. You'll hear untruths about things that are perhaps out there right now. You need to know what the background is. So life is great, life is good. Oscar and I have been so honored and privileged to work as mayors here. And all I can say is tomorrow's going to be beautiful. Carpe diem. Seize the day and make it your own. And God bless you, dear sweet Nancy Byrne, and everybody in this studio. Thank you, everybody in Las Vegas. You have it really good.